Hey guys, what's up? We're here covering the Star Wars portion of the Disney investors meeting, and we have maybe the biggest news. The Obi-Wan series is officially announced, or it was already, but it's going into production in March. I was under the false assumption that it was going to be in Boston, Massachusetts, and I was like, how do I get on this? But it's Boston, England. Uh, a little bit of
That's good.
clickbait there.
Yep.
But Hayden Christensen is cast as specifically said Darth Vader, though we don't know if it's just Darth Vader.
Right.
Uh, takes place 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. Kennedy called it the rematch of the century. It's directed by Deborah Chow. Nick, what are your thoughts on all this?
A lot to unpack there. A lot to unpack there. First, I'll start with the easiest one. Deborah Chow as directing. I'm very excited for this because she directed. What she did? She directed like two. Yeah, she directed two of my favorite Mandalorian episodes. She directed Chapter 3, The Sin, which is like I think my favorite episode overall. And then Chapter 7, The Reckoning, which is like the second to last episode of season 1. Those are great episodes. Those episodes were standouts for me, and so to hear her taking helm of this whole thing, I'm very excited to see. As for um, as for Hayden back as Darth Vader, I want to talk to the guy who anticipated this because there was no way any person on this planet thought this news was going to be a thing. There's not this. I don't like if someone did anticipate it, then I want to I want to I want to talk to you because you had great intuition, but no one expected this. No, there was the last thing on anyone's mind. It was enough to get Ewan McGregor back as Obi-Wan Kenobi alone. So the fact that they're bringing back Hayden is incredible. I have no idea what he's been up to since Revenge of the Sith, but I'm glad to see he's coming back to the role. It's kind of like what Mando did with spoilers with Tamora Morrison as Boba Fett. They're just kind of like, or even like Katie Sackhoff as Bo-Katan. They're just kind of like bringing like really building the ties or whatnot across the different eras. So I think that's pretty cool. As for the fact they specified him as Darth Vader, I'm intrigued in because even in Revenge of the Sith, when he suited up, he already had James Earl Jones's voice. So if that mean I don't know if they mean like he's gonna show up in the suit, but Hayden's voicing him. I mean, like that's gonna be a bit weird. Not gonna lie. Or if they're gonna show him like in like that pre-Mustafar sequence where it's like he has the yellow eyes and he has the cloak and it's like he's ready to kill younglings like that I would buy. That would be a way both also to like maintain that like Anakin Vader connection without tipping too far in the other end. I do have some not concerns, just questions about the timeline of it all, and also just like I guess the natural emotion of it all, just because um I kind of don't want Obi-Wan and Anakin to like be physically in the same place. That makes any sense. And this is like because I've seen a few people like talk about this. I what I hope and what I assume was that Anakin would be like a grief-induced like hallucination or something of Obi-Wan's. I don't want them. I don't want these two to physically like the characters to be physically in the same place because I feel then it's going to take a lot away from A New Hope. Because like lines when Vader's on the Death Star and he goes, I haven't felt this presence since. And granted, he kind of trails off at that sentence, so you have some leeway to like. Well, actually, they met before, but I also feel like it was just stronger that the very last time these two characters met was when Anakin was on fire and Obi Wan left him, and so that makes that whole like I haven't felt this in like haven't felt this since more powerful. And also that line when they finally do meet, and he's like, "When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master." Again, like that. There's some leeway, like I guess timeline wise, but I think it would. I don't know. Maybe you could have the two like physical. I just don't want them to be like in just in the same area, which is why her whole Kennedy's whole rematch of the century is a little. If we are to take it literally, is a little like I'm a little apprehensive about just because I don't know. It was just going from Revenge of the Sith into A New Hope. It's so powerful just to see these two like to these two with this history and with how it ended to come back together. I feel like a Kenobi series would interrupt that. But I don't know. I feel like as a hallucination or some sort of like they did this in the Batman Arkham Knight video game with the Joker was like he wasn't there. He was like he was just a hallucination on Batman's part, and the Joker was just kind of like following him around, and that still maintained like that like dynamic, I think that would be the best way to go, in my opinion.
Yeah, there are a lot of different angles you could approach this from, and a lot that I think could be really interesting. The one you're talking about, I mean, technically Hayden's Darth Vader when he's attacking the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. I mean, and Obi-Wan watched those tapes. Because remember when he's like, I can't watch this anymore. I mean, he saw what Anakin did. Who knows? Maybe, and the problem is Hayden looks older. It's just the reality. So maybe you hood him up, get those yellow Sith eyes in, and can't see him all too well, but Obi-Wan has nightmares from the tapes he saw of Anakin killing, younglings or Jedi in the temple, and it haunts him. His failure is constantly haunting him. That's what I want. And that brings a really interesting aspect of his failure haunts him, and him leaving Anakin to die on Mustafar haunts him. And I'd love a moment when he finds out Darth Vader is alive, because he knows Anakin's Darth Vader. He knows the name connection. So him being in a cantina and just seeing that and the horror, I like that's the moment I want to see. And then attached to that moment, I want to see, what does he do after that? Is he like, oh no, Anakin's alive? He might actually come and come back to Tatooine. Is Luke going to be safe? Right? All that sort of stuff. And then I think there will be some sort of guilt trip that sends Obi-Wan to save Anakin one last time. And I think that'll be the meeting where the two of them meet for one last time, and Obi-Wan tries to save Anakin, but he's gone. And I don't know what happens from there, but it kind of seems like to me that's what they're angling towards, that they're going to have a rematch. They're going to fight for one last time. Hopefully it'll be, if they do fight, it's like that the fan film that they shot that combined the New Hope footage with a little bit more, better
Refined,
special effects.
refined, yeah.
Yeah, and movement that kind of fits the movies better than what A New Hope does. Though I mean, I love A New Hope for what it is. So I think that's a really interesting angle they can play. Deborah Chow is amazing. I mean, the Star Wars, the Marvel TV shows, she did some of the best episodes. You'd read through them and you'd be like, oh, she did that one? That makes sense now that she's that good at the Mandalorian episodes. I think the place and time is really interesting 10 years after. I'm surprised, honestly, it wasn't sooner, but that works. And I'm just curious if this story all takes place on Tatooine or if he goes off of Tatooine. I have a feeling he goes off of Tatooine.
I would assume so. I would hope so, just because like no Star Wars story ever has stayed on the same planet. It's always been about the travel. It's all been about the journey.
Right. And I think there's a point to that of it, you always want the galaxy to be expanding. You don't want to make, though it could be intimate on one planet. I think, part of Star Wars is the scale to the galaxy and always making sure that you're reminded this is like there are so many planets to explore. And I think that could be really fascinating. But Nick, is there anything else you want to cover with this, or do you think we've kind of hit everything as far as the Obi-Wan goes?
I mean, yes, I don't know. It's like I love the character of Obi-Wan. I think Obi-Wan gives one of the best performances in the Star Wars like franchise. It's just really exciting one to, because this is an era of the character that a lot of people have wanted for a long time. So I'm glad to see them finally delving into it. I do want to see like a rattled Obi-Wan. I want to see someone who's like he's a Jedi in a time when there are no Jedi. He literally like the closest thing he has to a support system is Yoda, and he's like light like galaxies away on Dagobah. He really is like dealing with the fact that his entire not race but I guess culture is gone. He's dealing with the fact that he had to leave his brother like on burning alive. That would be something for him to realize like, oh shoot, like Anakin survived or whatever. um he's like the bad guys won. Like I want to see like a really like rattled PTSD like ridden like Obi-Wan Kenobi like this. He's this great hero who's now like the last of his kind. The bad guys have taken over. I think this potentially has the. I think of any other Disney Plus series potentially. I mean, granted, there's a few other shows we had know nothing about, but this has the I think has the potential for the greatest character work, just because there's such a strong setup in where Obi-Wan is in his life, and so that I think is just really exciting on its own.
Yeah, 100%. And maybe Vader's trying to goad Obi-Wan out of hiding. And maybe he sets up some sort of trap so he can fight Obi-Wan one last time. But I'm really excited for it. Let's move on. The Cassian Andor series, they showed a kind of behind the scenes trailer of it. There was really no new footage in it, but it's going to be 12 episodes, which is the most of any of the series we've heard about. The scale is supposed to be pretty massive from the idea they're giving us, and it seems to be a spy thriller from Tony Gilroy, who did the Bourne Identity films. Um, Hopefully, there aren't as many cuts in the action sequences, and you can actually see what's going on. But he's not directing any of the episodes actually, so that was a recent switch. Production's been going for this is the third week, I believe, now in London. So what are your thoughts on all this news coming out about the show?
I'm. I feel like, especially in the midst of all the other shows that were announced, not my desire to see Cassian has dropped a little, not about a lot, just because like it's such a again like we've seen the rebellion era played out. We've seen different factions of rebels already. Um, but I think what I keep coming back to is the scene in his intro scene in Rogue One, where he gets the information from the guy. The stormtroopers are coming in, and he like executes the guy. Like Cassian, and I feel like Cassian is also a chance for them to like draw on the Mandalorian a little of the character of Din Djarin, where like Cassian is a little more like morally gray, like he's willing to do like get his hands dirty to do good. I think that is an interesting. I think that'd be an interesting like part of the character to like draw out 12 episodes. That's gonna be the longest Disney Plus series yet. So I'm intrigued to see how that all plays out. Um, Again, not much said. It was really behind the scenes stuff, nothing we haven't seen before from like people who worked on Star Wars. This is the only role I've seen from Diego Luna, but he does seem very like enthusiastic and capable. And I also know they brought back Alan Tudyk as K2SO. That's gonna be great. I don't know if they're already friends. They're gonna depict the beginnings of their friendship, but I think that's also gonna be that's a great sell as well.
That's a great point to bring up because their friendship in the beginning of their friendship, I actually think is brought up in a comic. So I'll be curious if they start and they're already like a duo, and that's where they pick up, or if they start before that and they would adapt the comics into part of the story, or who knows, maybe they retcon it completely. That wouldn't be out of the woods either, though I
Right.
think that would piss off some Star Wars fans. I think this is a really interesting show. I hope Cassian Andor is more morally gray than Mando is actually, because I want to see more of the, you know, to win a rebellion, you have to play dirty.
Yeah, like you could reframe the entire perspective of the rebellion in this one show just because like Mando was a bounty hunter. He was already a neutral character. But like Cassian, he is part of the good guys. They've been the good guys since 1977. But then you see them like they're doing like maybe just as bad stuff as the Empire to get ahead. That's another one where you could have like such great character work happen, and then um I don't know. There's a chance for them to like just draw on that like dirtiness of war type aspect, like in Full Metal Jacket or whatnot.
Right. And I'd love to see the angle. Cassian's a separatist. He grew up on a separatist world. I'd love to see his perspective on that drawn out through the series and how that both shapes his perspective of the Empire and maybe how he reflects on the Republic beforehand and kind of what's his arc as far as that. I think that was all really interesting stuff. I love Diego Luna in Narcos Mexico. He's fantastic in that series. So I could not be more excited for this. Uh, but yeah, Nick, do you have anything else you want to say about this show, or do you feel like we've kind of covered it all?
No, I think we've covered it. I mean, this is unlike Obi-Wan, we have kind of no like background info on Cassian. We only have the one film. This is like prequel to Rogue One, so we only have where he ends up. We don't know where he came from. But I mean, 12 episodes. The fact that they were bold enough to be like, yeah, we need 12. I can only hope that one, they don't overdo it, which I've seen done before. But I don't think they will. I think 12, they knew exactly what they needed to do. So I think it's gonna be a good. I'm anticipating this show like 2022 or so.
Right.
So I think that's definitely gonna be a fun part of the year, without a doubt, just to revisit this era. And then I trust that they're not revisiting this era they've revisited like 3, 4 times already without having something new to bring to the table.
Yeah. And with that, that wraps up this episode covering the Star Wars Disney Investors Meeting talk, whatever you want to call it. It was basically a convention of sorts. Check out the video, our other videos on the channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below with your thoughts. Are you hyped to see Hayden back? And we'll see you next time.
Peace out.